Okay, very quick video to show you how to get Visual Studio 2017 on your machine and then download, install and use Snaps for the wonderful book Begin to Code with C Sharp by yours truly. Snaps is now on GitHub, and in celebration I thought I'd make a new video with my spangly, sparkling, brand new virtual machine, which you can see in front of you. Okay, so I've gone to visualstudio.microsoft.com/downloads. There we go. And my browser is there, and I've found Visual 2017, which is splendid, and I'll have this finished just in time for it to all be out of date. But there you go. Hit the free download for the community edition, and it'll give you another screen with a whole bunch of stuff. And it'll say, do you want to run this thing? And you will say yes. And don't for an instant think that it all fits in 1.2 megabytes, because it does not. That's just the loader for the loader for the loader. It's a bit like, yeah, and be prepared to spend a while doing this. That doesn't mean to say you have to actually watch it happen. Most of the time you can go off and drink tea or have fun or whatever you like while it's going on. So we hit yes, we're about to change our device, that's fine. We might get some more confirmation screens, rattle, rattle, rattle. It takes an hour or two. You don't have to watch the video for an hour or two unless you... No, I wouldn't do that. I can't keep talking for an hour or two. Just a few minutes. We should be done quite quickly. This is a fairly, it's a small virtual machine I'm running on my big PC, constrained a bit by memory and running off an external drive, so it does rattle a bit. Yours may well go more quickly, but I'll pause the recordings every now and then when things are getting a little bit boring. And I can't think of anything else to say, but in a minute or two we should get the option to configure the installation. Then we press the button to say go to it my man, and at that point the installation will begin, and that would be nice. It would be nice if it happened a little bit soon. I should save up for a faster machine. I'm sure it's all this stuff to do with viruses on your processor and whatnot, all this ghost blah blah blah, slow my machine down. That and the fact it's more than a year or two old. Oh, things are happening now. I think we should be in business in a second or two. And in the meantime, just admire how that thing swirls around gently, and looks nice and busy. Here we go. What are you doing? Yeah, should have thought this through, shouldn't I? Come on. It's probably hidden somewhere. Here we go. It was lurking behind there all the time. Yes, hit continue. We're okay with this. So now what's happening is it's bringing down the installer, fetching my files. If only I'd looked behind there, it would have saved me minutes of waffle. I wonder if I should start this again any quicker. No, we'll watch this go through. It's fine. It's all good. And it lets me practice my waffling, so I haven't done any waffling for a while. So it's getting going with the installer. This is going to let me configure what I want. And there's just a couple of things you have to get exactly right to install the version of Windows Visual Studio that we need to have. Bear in mind this is going to cost you nothing, but also in mind, very important, you should be running Windows 10 for this to work. The demonstration application Snaps is a Windows 10 app, a universal app. That's good news because it means you can run it on Raspberry Pis and all kinds of other things, the app that you've made, that is, but the actual tools you use to make it only work on a Windows PC, only work with Windows 10. So what do we want? Well, here we go, we want .NET Desktop Environment, please. We want Universal Windows Platform Development. There it is, loud and proud. That, I think, we'll go with those two. I like, these don't cost you any extra money. Maybe get a bit of Python, why not? And let's have a look what else we've got. Azure, I like the Azure stuff. It's keeping, if you look on here, we're using 16.9 gigs of space. If I turn off Python, doesn't seem to make much difference. Yeah, it's still, Python is tiny, worth having Python lying around. Other bits and pieces, well, there's all kinds of things, game development, that'll take up more space by the ton. Don't really care about that. But the one I do care about is this guy here, Universal Windows Platform Development. Because if you ain't got that, yeah, you ain't got the business. There's a bunch of different versions of, I've turned it off now, idiot. Don't click on it more than once, Rob. Okay, yeah, so we've got those two lined up. We just say install one download. That means it'll take a bit less time. We hit the install button, and there you go. It's starting to do stuff, and the machine will now ramp up massively. Smoke comes out the back. All kinds of weird magic goes on, and off we go. I'm not going to make you sit watching these progress bars get bigger. I'm going to go off now and do something else, and you should too. I think we're back. It's done it. Look at this. Oh, wonderful. Look, we've got Visual Studio is now installed and ready to leap into action. Leap, leap. And you can sign in if you wish. If you have a Microsoft account, then yes, you can sign in with that. And that'll allow you to synchronize your settings and do all kinds of wonderful things and unlock the IDE. Okay, yes. I'm going to hit not now, maybe later, because I don't like typing out my username and password in public. So I'm going to go like that. Bang. And now what will happen is a little start Visual Studio. I'm asked to choose my color scheme. I like the blue one. That's just me. Pick what you like. I won't judge you. Nothing will judge you here, I'm sure. So now what's happening now is it's basically lining itself up to get your Visual Studio interface already. This is a once, I think, like it says, it'll happen once. It'll take a little while. My machine isn't the fastest, which is why I'm having to talk while it does its thing. But after a few minutes, it doesn't take a few minutes. It isn't as bad as that. After a while, you will get your Visual Studio user interface. Lovely. Now, we don't need that just yet because the next thing we're going to do is go off and get the program from GitHub, which is where the actual sample programs for the snaps live. So let's put you to sleep. There you go, down. And in here I'm going to go, watch carefully, github.com. Hey, type with audience. Rob, crazy. I don't know why I called myself Crazy Rob Miles, but it was mainly because Rob Miles had been taken by someone else who I can only assume is called Rob Miles. So I'm Crazy Rob Miles. It seemed a good idea at the time, but it wasn't. So we'll just move on in the folder called Snaps. Boom. So we go there. There's a rattling noise now. GitHub is wonderful. You should join GitHub. Everyone should join GitHub. If you're writing a very important report, if you're creating a wonderful piece of artwork and you want to be able to revert to previous drawings, anything you want to do that involves management and change of versions, GitHub is your bestest friend in the world. And it becomes an even better friend if that's possible. If you want to cooperate on projects and share work and do work on different parts of things, it's fantastic and it's free, which is why I like it so much as well. So sign up for GitHub. You can do all that. Maybe I'll do some little videos about GitHub. Yeah, why not? But for now, I'm using it as the place to get my Begin to Code with C# stuff from, and I've gone to github.com/crazyrobmiles because that's me /snaps. And that's where the snap stuff lives. And here, there's two things you can do. You can make a copy of the entire library you can fiddle with and make your own GitHub repository, these things are called, that contains my stuff. Or if you just want to use the program, which is the thing I'm thinking about very first of all, just go for download. So I hit the button and I say download zip. And at this point, a massive 6 megabytes. I think it's huge. I'm going to save you in my downloads area, and now a massive 6 megabytes of files comes rattling down the wire. And if I now hit open folder here, then it will open the folder, the download folder, into which my snaps have been put. There they are. And if we just close the browser to make it a bit cleaner, there you go, close all the tabs, yeah, bye bye, go into here. This is a zip archive. You have to unzip it first. Rookie mistake. Don't try and run Visual Studio on the programs inside the zip archive. Oh, there you go. Somebody's just gone bing bong. That's nice to know. Maybe you didn't hear that. I have no idea. Don't try and run it from here. You'll get all kinds of weird errors and become extremely confused Areno. What you now do is grab this guy and drag him onto the desktop like that. You could drag him somewhere else, documents, folders, whatnot. Pro tip. If you're using OneDrive to synchronize folders across other machines, it's a great idea. It works really well. But what happens when you build a program like the Snaps framework is that lots of files are changed a little bit, and that causes your OneDrive to go a bit nuts as it tries to synchronize all those various little files and move them around. This can cause files to get sort of a bit conflicted in that they're being used by OneDrive and the Visual Studio program at the same time, and you might get little errors here and there as files are locked and whatnot. So my advice is to actually store the programs you're working on a local hard drive, and then use OneDrive to store versions, or better yet, use a GitHub folder on your local hard drive, and then you can manage the process of actually saving and restoring these items. But more of that in another talk, because this one's all about snaps. And what I now have, if I close this, oh, by the way, there's two files here, are a little bit out of date, but they're colourful and nice to read. And they tell you how to get started and a bit of installation help too. But this video is far, far better because it has me talking in it, which is always good. So we'll close that down. We'll open up this folder here. This is a Visual Studio folder which contains two projects. Begin to Code with C# holds all the examples for my programs, and Snaps is the framework that you can use to make any program that you like. This thing here is a bit like a Word document, but it's for programs. It controls Studio and says, these are the things that form part of my solutions and my projects and whatnot. So we just double click on him, and because we've got Studio installed, it will now say, oh, okay, do you want to open this? I do. Let's have it all handled as though by magic. Hit OK. There'll now be a rattling noise as Studio fires up. Here it comes, and it will now actually install those two projects and do a little bit of thinking. Now, the way that Studio works is actually rather clever, in that it actually takes a look at what's in the project, and if it can't find the thing it needs for that project on your local machine, it will go off onto the internet-y thing and fetch the various bits that are missing. So we're going to have to watch some progress bars and do some tweaky things to get this thing going the very first time that we run it. After that, everything should just work. So these projects are now being loaded. Yes, it's come from the internet, which apparently is a place where there's bad stuff. I've never found much of this myself, but it's okay because Robert wrote this, and you'll get asked for that project and also the Snaps project in a second or two. But before you do that, this is important. This is important. To protect your computer against random programs doing bad things, when you first install Windows, it's set so that only programs downloaded from the from the Microsoft Store can actually run on it, which is sensible. But we don't want to do that. We want to run programs which we have written ourselves. Studio knows this. It knows this setting, and so it's gone into the control panel on your PC and said, do you want to make this change to make it possible to run the programs you're about to write? And the answer is yes. So you click on developer mode on here to say, yeah, I'm okay with that. Windows goes a bit like your mum. Are you sure you want to do that? And the answer is yes, you are sure, because you trust yourself and you aren't in the habit of downloading random programs and running them, are you? Because that would be silly. And I'm just wondering if my audio has been recording all this time. Hang on a minute, I'll be back in a second. Yeah, it's all good. I was just panicking there for a moment because the little dialy thing that says you're being recorded, sound and everything, wasn't doing much. And if it doesn't do much, and I spend half an hour recording a thing with my wonderful dulcet tones going nowhere, it's not very happy. You've not missed much. This thing's been looking for the package to install for developer mode. It's now done it. We're now in business. We can do all kinds of other nice things as well, but most importantly, we can run the Snaps programs. So I can close this dialog, and I can go back to my trustworthy source thing, hit OK. You'll go through this sequence as well. You do it once per machine. If someone else wants to run the programs that you have written, if a friend of yours wants to take your Snaps things and do things with them, that's fine. They'll have to do the same thing on their machine, and if they use Visual Studio, it will give them the same option when it starts up. So it's all rather nice. You have to go off and look for things. So yeah, another little thing here now. Snaps uses libraries of a particular version of Windows. Studio now says, can I go off and fetch those libraries, please? And of course you say, okay. So now what's happening is those libraries are being fetched and installed onto your machine. This again is a once only action. Should you decide to build a proper application and sell it in Microsoft Store, all this kind of stuff is kind of wrapped up for you. In that it actually sorts itself out auto-magically. It's just that we're in developer mode. That's why we're having to do these extra things. One other extra thing we have to do, you can write universal applications for lots of different computers, lots of them, and they'll run on them. But at the moment, we just want to run it on our local machine, and so we have to tell it to only use, and I use x86, that's guaranteed to work on all machines. And that means use the processor in my Windows PC to actually run this. One piece of bad news I should have mentioned earlier is that you can't do this on a Macintosh, unfortunately. You can run Visual Studio on a Macintosh, but you can't run Universal Application Development. So, okay, now what we've done is we've brought everything down. We've told Windows it's okay to run these programs. We've fetched a bunch of libraries, and now we can hit the payoff. We can hit the run this program on my local machine. And what happens now is that Visual Studio takes all the source code, all the programs that are in here, the sample programs from the chapters, all kinds of stuff, and it starts to fit them all together to actually build the application. And this will take a little while. Visual Studio is well, it's actually rattling away. It has to go off and fetch some bits and pieces again, because when it wakes up it goes, oh, I need this, this and this. But as you can see down here, it's just getting on with this. You don't have to do anything other than watch. And the good news is, again, this is a once and for all application. It's the only thing that you have to do sort of once when you install it and run it the first time. After the first time, it goes a lot quicker, second and third time. So now what's happening is it's bringing in all kinds of libraries which Snaps uses that you don't have to worry about. And after it's done all that, assuming, there you go, it started building it now. The libraries are in place. The building can begin. And you'll see the output here. And if you ever make a mistake in your program, apparently errors appear in the output window. I've never seen this because I don't make any mistakes ever. But if you do, you get messages down here telling you what the errors are and where they are in the code and giving you pointers to try and fix them. Now, that's all in the book. And of course, you've bought the book, haven't you? Please say you bought the book. Although I won't hear you if you do, but say it anyway. So now it's deploying it. It's going and fetching some more frameworks. Again, this all takes a little while to do very first time, but that doesn't matter. It means you get to hear more of me talking. Deployment is the final step where it takes what you've actually built and it makes it into a program that contains all the various bits and pieces that can include pictures and sounds and whatnot. And then finally it starts it going. And it's totally worth it. Totally worth it. Here we go. We're about to watch it start running. This is the placeholder screen. And in a second or two, that will be replaced by my running program. These guys in here on the right hand side are going to show me how much memory I'm using and also how much of the processor I'm using. These can be nice to see. For now, we'll just watch the pretty colors and lights and dials. Oh, look at that. We're in business. Now, the way the code is organized, Snaps is explained in the book, and we've already established you've bought the book, so that's fine. These are apps that you might want to write, and these are apps for all the different chapters. And if you click on one of them and select it, that program will then run. I can go right to the bottom to the final apps if you like, and I can pick my complete video game down here just to show you what kind of thing you can do with it. If I now hit run an app, having picked the app, gadunk, it will now run that app, and this is going to run a complete game on Windows, and you'll see whizzing sprites and all sorts. There you go. If I hit space, I like Space Rockets in Space. It's a great game. I can hit space to play, and then I can control the game with these arrows, and I can fire missiles at Space Invaders and stuff. So that's the kind of thing you can aim at. When you get bored with that, which is actually fairly quickly, I'm afraid, hit close, and it goes away, and the program stops. You'll know it stopped because at some point that red button will go away and we get the button to run again. If we want to run a different program, hit go, look machine, it starts again. Look how fast it comes at the second time because it's not being compiled or anything. Pick a different program. We've got all kinds of programs down here. Each one of them is keyed to a particular exercise in the book. And if you click on one and run it, that's fine. You can see how it does its thing. I'm trying to find a nice one. They're all nice. They're all very nice. Pizza Picker program, for example, chapter 6, program 1, run it please. Up it comes and it says, I'm running you, and here you go, pick your pizza, and it'll tell you, I'll have 1 cheese and tomato, 1 pepperoni, 1 chicken, show totals, there's 1 cheese tomato, 1 pepperoni, 1 chicken, no vegetarians, and we're done. And this is basically a pizza picking program. That was chapter 6, program 1, as I remember. If you go into here, if you go into chapters, let's see how this works. Chapter 6. Open up. Pizza Picker, program 1. This is the code that does the thing that you have just seen. Set some counter to 0. Show some buttons. Deal with the button titles. If he's picked cheese and tomato, make the cheese and tomato count bigger. Pepperoni, chicken, vegetarian. This is programming, folks. You can change it. You can make it do what you like. The Snaps engine, clear the display, add lines to draw stuff. Away you go. So this is basically getting Snaps going on your machine with Visual Studio 2017. And I hope you found it useful. I've certainly found it very exciting. Bye-bye. Oh, robmiles.com is the place to go before I finally disappear for all your interesting needs and some boring ones as well. Thank you.